I was sitting across the conference table from my business partner of 8 years, watching her face drain of color as the forensic accountant laid out spreadsheet after spreadsheet. $347,000. That's how much money Sarah had stolen from our company, from me, to fund her boyfriend's tech startup. My hands were shaking so hard I had to grip the edge of the table. But it wasn't just the money that destroyed me. It was the fact that for 2 years, while I worked 70-hour weeks to keep our business alive, while I skipped family dinners and missed my daughter's recitals, Sarah had been systematically bleeding us dry to make another man's dreams come true. I'm going to tell you exactly how I found out and what I did about it. And trust me, the revenge was so perfectly executed that even I'm still a little shocked I pulled it off. My name is Rachel, and 8 years ago, Sarah and I started a digital marketing agency together. We'd been best friends since college, the kind of friendship where you finish each other's sentences and know each other's coffee orders by heart. When we graduated, we made a pact. No corporate jobs, no working for the man. We were going to build something of our own. So we maxed out credit cards, worked out of my living room, and hustled like our lives depended on it. Because they did. Those first years were brutal, but beautiful. We'd celebrate landing a $1,500 client like we'd won the lottery. We'd work until 2 a.m, fueled by cheap wine and big dreams. Sarah handled operations and finance. I focused on creative and client relations. We were 50-50 partners in everything. Equal ownership, equal say, equal trust. She was the sister I never had. I was the maid of honor at her wedding. I held her hand through her miscarriage. When my mom died, Sarah was the one who showed up at my house at midnight with ice cream and let me ugly cry on her shoulder for 3 hours. By year 6, we'd built something real. 23 employees, 7-figure annual revenue. We'd moved into a beautiful office space downtown. We were featured in a local business magazine as entrepreneurs to watch. I remember the day that article came out. Sarah and I bought champagne and toasted to the next 10 years. I genuinely believed we'd grow old together, building this empire side by side. Then about 2 years ago, things started feeling off. Nothing I could put my finger on exactly. Sarah seemed distracted during meetings. She'd get defensive when I asked about certain expenses. The company's profit margins were shrinking even though we were bringing in more clients than ever. When I'd bring it up, she always had an explanation. Rising costs, new software subscriptions, office upgrades. It all sounded reasonable, and I trusted her completely, so I let it go. Around this time, Sarah started dating Marcus. He was this charismatic tech guy she'd met at a networking event. Honestly, I was happy for her. Her marriage had ended badly, and she deserved someone good. Marcus seemed smart, ambitious, full of ideas. He was building some kind of AI-powered analytics platform. Sarah would talk about how brilliant he was, how his startup was going to be huge. I smiled and nodded because that's what friends do. But that wasn't even the worst part. About 6 months ago, I started noticing actual problems. We couldn't make payroll on time 1 month. Sarah said it was a cash flow issue and that a big client payment was delayed. Then our business credit card got declined when I tried to book a flight for a client pitch. I was humiliated. That's when I knew something was seriously wrong. You don't build a successful business for 8 years and then suddenly can't pay for a $700 plane ticket. I started asking harder questions. Sarah got angry, told me I was being paranoid and controlling. She accused me of not trusting her. That stung because I'd trusted her with literally everything. But my gut was screaming at me, so I did something I'd never done before. I hired a forensic accountant to review our books. I didn't tell Sarah. I just quietly handed over every financial document I could access and waited. 3 weeks later, I got the call. The accountant's voice was careful, professional, but I could hear the tension underneath. "Rachel, you need to come in, today if possible." I knew before I even walked into his office that my entire world was about to implode. He showed me everything. Dozens of transfers disguised as vendor payments and consulting fees, money flowing from our business account into an LLC that Sarah had set up, and from there directly into Marcus's startup. $347,000 over 2 years. She hadn't just stolen from the company. She'd stolen from me, from our employees, from every client who trusted us. She'd gambled our entire business on her boyfriend's dream. I sat in that accountant's office and cried. Not pretty tears, the kind where you can't breathe and your whole body heaves. I felt like the stupidest person alive. How had I not seen this? How had my best friend, the person I trusted more than anyone, looked me in the eye every single day while robbing me blind? The lowest moment came that night. I sat in my car in the parking garage for 2 hours, unable to drive home. I called my sister and could barely get the words out. I felt betrayed, humiliated, and so deeply stupid. I'd built everything with Sarah. I'd trusted her with my financial life, my professional reputation, my heart. And she'd thrown it all away for a man she'd known for 2 years. But somewhere around hour 3 in that parking garage, something shifted. I stopped crying and started thinking. I could report her to the police. Embezzlement is a serious crime. I could sue her into oblivion. But those options felt too slow, too uncertain. I wanted something more precise, more devastating. And then she said something I will never forget. When I finally confronted Sarah with the evidence, when I laid those spreadsheets out in front of her in our office, you know what she said? You don't understand. Marcus's company is going to be huge. I was going to pay it all back and you'd never have known. I was investing in our future. Our future. Like I was to be grateful she'd gambled my entire livelihood without asking. That's when I knew exactly what I had to do. And what I did next. Most people told me I'd gone too far. I reached out to Marcus directly. I told him I knew about the money and where it had come from. I watched him panic, watched him try to explain it away. But here's the thing about Marcus. He wasn't a bad guy. He had no idea Sarah had been stealing. He thought she was just an investor who believed in his vision. When he learned the truth, he was horrified. So I made him an offer. I would buy Sarah's stake in his company, the stake she'd purchased with my stolen money, at cost. And in exchange, I wouldn't press charges that would destroy both their lives. Marcus agreed within 24 hours. He was desperate, broke, and terrified of going to prison as an accomplice. I used my personal savings, took out a loan, and bought him out completely. Then I went to work. I had something Sarah didn't, actual business experience and a network of real clients. Within 6 months, I'd turned Marcus's struggling startup into something viable. I brought in real investors, hired a proper development team, and landed 3 major clients. Within a year, the company Sarah had bet everything on was worth triple what she'd stolen. And I made sure she knew every single milestone, every funding round, every success story. I'd send her the press releases, the revenue numbers. I never rubbed it in with words. I just let the facts speak for themselves. The company she'd sacrificed our friendship for, the company she'd committed felony theft to fund, was thriving, but she'd never see a penny of it. I'd made sure of that. As for our original business, I restructured everything. I bought out Sarah's ownership stake, at a price calculated after subtracting what she'd stolen, of course. She had no choice but to accept. The alternative was criminal prosecution. Our employees never knew the full story. I told them Sarah was pursuing other opportunities, and we parted ways professionally. I protected her reputation even though she'd destroyed my trust. Maybe that makes me weak, or maybe it just makes me the better person. Here's what I learned. Betrayal from a stranger is painful. Betrayal from someone you love is soul-destroying. But there's something almost liberating about seeing someone's true nature. Sarah wasn't the person I thought she was, and once I accepted that, I could move forward. If you're watching this and you've been betrayed by someone you trusted completely, I want you to know something. You're not stupid. You're not naive. You loved someone and believed in them, and that's actually beautiful. They're the ones who broke something precious, not you. The best revenge isn't always loud or dramatic. Sometimes it's just living well, building something real, and proving that their betrayal didn't destroy you. It just redirected you toward something better. If this story resonated with you, subscribe. I share a new story every single week. And drop a comment below if you've ever been betrayed by someone you completely trusted. You are not alone, and you will get through this.